Best hunting rifles of 2024. Why? Well, because I plan on doing a series, and I think this is going to be the easiest one to do, to be honest with you. But I'll probably do a series depending on how I divvy it up. Best revolvers. I probably won't do just best handguns because it's such a broad category. I may do best revolvers and best semi-autos. I may do best micro 9s, best combat handguns, etc. Best survival rifles. I haven't really pinned down what exactly the categories are going to be, but this first one, best hunting rifles. And this is not hunting rifles coming out in 2024, because if it's coming out in 2024, as you might know, I would not recommend it. I am not somebody just getting paid by a gun company to push the next new product. It should be proven, reliable platform for me to recommend it. But these are guns that are still being made in 2024. Like one of my go-to hunting rifles that I'm blessed to have and really like, actually two of those, they don't make anymore. So that's not going to be on the list. I'm going to try and not put anything on the list that's not being made, I believe, at the time of this recording. Anyway, if any of the other categories intrigue you, best survival rifles or best revolvers, there's probably going to be several more, God willing, in this series, depending on what they are. So make sure you like, subscribe, following the show. With that, welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics. Today, hunting the right way with Almighty God at the center, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. I'm going to forego the bio. You probably know, if you are a normal listener, lifelong hunter, been a professional big game hunter and guide, hunted all over this beautiful country. Well, with that, we're talking medium to large game hunting rifles today. Most of the country lives east of the Mississippi, which means for most people, the quarry they're going to hunt the most is white-tailed deer. But we're talking white-tailed deer, elk, mule deer, pronghorn. You get the idea. Medium to large game hunting rifles. What are some of the best on the market going into 2024? My number one recommendation is going to be a Winchester Model 70. They have gone back to their pre-64 design more or less. Not exactly, but they're a controlled round feed again. I don't care how many people love their budget push feeds that can shoot under an inch. I like a controlled round feed. So my number one recommendation is going to be a controlled round feed. I also like backup iron sights, but I think that's really critical for like a survival rifle, a go-to end of the world rifle. I don't think that's critical for a hunting rifle. Most people hunt for a day or two, and if they have a bad hunt, they're not going to die. So I don't think that backup iron sights are a prerequisite. I do wish they were the default, and if you wanted a specialty rifle like a varmint rifle without iron sights, you'd have to special order it. But most modern rifles today, they don't come with iron sights, sadly. This one does not, but in all of the ways I like it. It's stainless steel, which I like. It's that classic action. I really like a controlled round feed. I really like that classic 3-position safety. You can lock the action closed if you're in rough terrain. You can keep it on safe but still manipulate the action if you want to unload it safely. It's just a phenomenal design. I am a big fan of stainless, but if you like the more classic blued steel walnut look, and you live in an environment and hunt in such a manner as that you're not going to destroy the finish on that gun, they do make the Model 70 featherweight, which I like. I like the featherweight. I have a pre-64 I'm blessed to have that I hunt with that's a featherweight. It's phenomenal. They still make a featherweight. You can still get it, and a beautiful gun. Now, for caliber recommendations, if you just want a one and done, it's easy to recommend the 308. 308 for almost anything shy of the Rocky Mountains and Alaska. 308 is a good choice. That would be my number one recommendation for most people. If you want to bump it up a little bit, 30-06 is classic. It's phenomenal. If If you're talking about deer-sized game, the difference in 308 30-06 is academic. If you're talking about larger game where you want more payload as far as bullet grain weight, 30-06 does edge ahead when you talk about 200 grain bullets, or even 180 grain, 190 grain, 200, even the 220s. So if you want a dangerous game load, for sometimes, at most time, you're going to be hunting just regular game, 30-06 wins that race. If you're hunting out west, deer, mule deer, pronghorn, you want a little bit flatter trajectory, the classic 270 Winchester. And that's for that stainless steel. You talk about the featherweight. If I were getting a featherweight, I would get it in 243. I just, in that lighter gun, I like the lighter caliber. Although I have a featherweight in 30-06, it's not bad. But I also really like 243. If you're just talking about deer size game, whitetail, mule deer, 243 is a great choice. I think it's often overlooked because there are more powerful choices, but more power is not always better. Classic, Model 70 featherweight in 243 would be a phenomenal deer gun. But they also make that one in 30-06 if you want it. 308, again, good all-around caliber. There are many good calibers. I'm just giving you some go-to recommendations. But that stainless steel if you want it, or that featherweight. And there are other models if they intrigue you. If you want like a really fancy wood stock, they make those models. But because Winchester has gone to the pre-64 design with that controlled round feed, they've gone back to it. I think it's a phenomenal choice. I think they're made very well. I think they're accurate. And although sadly they're no longer made in America, it's still a good rifle. Now the next one, let's go over to Browning. Browning for a long time made the A-Bolt. Those are kind of legendary as like a more refined hunting rifle. Now they make the X-Bolt. And I think the X-Bolt's probably better in a lot of ways than the A-Bolt was. It's by all accounts a very accurate, very good rifle. It is push feed, but a very good, reliable push feed with a better extractor design, I think, than a lot of other guns. 3-lug design, smooth actions. So the Browning X-Bolt, it also has a really good optics mounting system. They make a bunch of really crazy, what I would consider not hunting guns that are marketed as hunting guns, these super heavy, long-range hunting guns. If that's how you want to hunt, that's fine. That's not what I think of when I think of hunting. But they make a couple of really good models. The X-Bolt Speed, the X-Bolt Speed Suppressor Ready. Either one of those, really good options, traditional hunting rifle options, and really good ones. These are going to come Cerakoted. I don't like it as much as stainless, but I like it better than blued. Just a good, solid action. That X-Bolt is a refinement of earlier actions. It's got a long lineage, not as long as the Model 70, but just good hunting rifles. If you like that more modern look of like the modern polymer camo and Cerakote, and you still want a refined hunting rifle, I think that's a good place to look. They do make some more classic looking designs, but if I was going classic looks, I would just go with the Winchester Model 70. It's not exactly the original design, but it's a lot closer than an X-Bolt that has a fine finish. And unless you just like that look, if you're into it for the history, I'd harken back to the Model 70. But that Browning X-Bolt, if you want a good, accurate, and you don't mind a push feed rifle, phenomenal choice. I'm not going to rehash it, every option and what's better or worse, but it's got your classic calibers, your 270, your 30-06, your 308. If you want something really good, perhaps the best all-around North American game cartridge, and you don't mind reloading or looking at specialty stores for ammo, 280 Ackley Improved is perhaps the best all-around North American game cartridge, period. For the kind of game we're talking about. If you exclude dangerous game, it is probably the most versatile, most underrated round. And the X-Bolt Speed, it lists as being offered in 280 Ackley Improved. So a phenomenal choice. Browning X-Bolt Speed and 280 Ackley Improved would be a exquisite, like hunting the east, hunting the west game choice. Now, if you like to cover a lot of miles, and I didn't start out with this one because most people don't, honestly. Again, most people live east of the Mississippi. A lot of people walk to a deer stand and sit in a deer stand. I'm not putting that down. That's how I grew up hunting. That's generally how you have to hunt back east in most places because they're just not the wide open land of the West. But if you like to spot and stalk or cover a lot of miles, walking ridge lines, going over mountains where you don't know what's on the other side, just carrying gear, sleeping in the woods, that kind of hunting, you might want a little bit lighter weight rifle. All the good things I said about the Winchester Model 70, but it's no longer made in America. There is a company that makes that action that's actually a little bit smaller, I think more refined, and made in America, and that's Kimber. Kimber makes rifles built on that pre-64 Winchester Model 70 action. The one that is one of my favorites they discontinued, the Kimber Adirondack. That thing weighed less than 5 pounds. I love mine. It's a fantastic rifle. They don't make it. Now, if I'm picking one, and I might talk about some others, my main one that I would recommend would be the Kimber Montana. And since I just talked about it, and I looked and they do offer it, you might imagine 280 Ackley improved. If you're looking for a Western hunting rifle to take pretty much anything shy of, and it would certainly take a grizzly bear, but it wouldn't be a top choice. But anything in the West, elk, mule deer, pronghorn, 280 Ackley improved, Kimber Montana, controlled round feed, exquisite. I really like Kimber rifles. I think, except for finding an old actual pre-64 Winchester or Winchester featherweight, shy of that, if you want a good, exquisite American-made controlled round feed rifle, this is a great way to go. And the Kimber Montana is stainless, which I really like. They're super lightweight. You're talking like 5 pounds and change versus 7-8 pounds and change. And that adds up. Maybe not overall in your overall loadout, but if you've ever missed a deer because your hands got tired of holding that rifle at Port Arms mile after mile and you slung it and that's when the deer popped out, you'll realize what a blessing a lightweight rifle can be. So that Kimber Montana 280 Ackley improved, if you want a more common caliber, they make it in 308. And it'd be hard not to recommend a 308. They also make 6.5 Creedmoor, which I haven't talked a lot about, but in a lightweight rifle like this, you may decide that the benefits of the lighter recoil of the 6.5 Creedmoor outweigh the benefits of the heavier bullet in the 308. That's up to you, but it's available in more common calibers if you don't want to go the 280 Ackley. If you just want to be able to go to common stores like Walmart and buy ammo, then probably 280 Ackley improved is not your bag. 308, 6.5 Creedmoor is all over the place, and they'd both be a phenomenal choice. They also make a model called the Pro Hunter Resolve. If you want to look at that, it's got that more modern camo stock look. It's also stainless. They make many different models, but those would be the top picks. The Montana first, and then this one. If you wanted something that just was a little bit fancier looking than the Montana. Now let's talk about the budget pick. There have been a lot of very affordable, very accurate budget rifles on the market in the past 10 years. And there's so many that are so accurate, I don't think accuracy should be your number one selling point for a medium to large game hunting rifle. If it's for prairie dogs, fine. Yeah, the fact that you can hit a 1-inch circle at 200 yards, that makes sense for a prairie dog rifle. For your average deer hunting, elk hunting, the difference between an inch and a half rifle is probably academic if you're doing any kind of dynamic hunting. You might decide you want something with other features. My number one recommendation for this, no surprise if you're a listener for any length of time, is going to be the Savage Axis. They're still very, very crazy affordable. You can get them in stainless steel, which again, talking about the features that I like. It's not the best, not my favorite action, but the fact that it comes in stainless steel, and the fact that it comes in a lot of common calibers, and the fact that every Savage rifle I've ever owned, I've been happy with the accuracy. Some things I might be like, the trigger's a little this or a little that. But the accuracy for any Savage rifle I've ever had has always been great. And I've had 2 Savage Axis in the past. Axi, whatever the plural for axis is. Probably not axes, right? That just sounds silly. So I've had 2 Savage Axis in the past. And they were both tack drivers. They were phenomenally accurate. If you're looking for a recommendation on that, there you go. I would go stainless, but some people don't like stainless. I don't know. Some people just have bad taste. If you don't like stainless and you want to go black, they make just a regular black one too. But you're talking about a rifle off the rack for a few $100s. You get it in like 30-06. You can hunt anything in North America with it. You're going to be crazy accurate. If it's like any other Savage rifle I've ever used. And that's going to be really hard to beat. My wild card for this one is going to be one that I have recently got, blessed to have, and it's probably going to become one of, God willing, the core battery of guns that I use and hunt with. And that is the Ruger Scout rifle. The Ruger Gunsight Scout. Specifically, I have the stainless steel model, no surprise there. But if you're a hard hunter, like you do long hunts, you don't just go out for the afternoon or the day, you go out for prolonged excursions in the wilderness. The Scout rifle has some advantages. I mentioned most modern guns don't come with iron sights, while the Scout rifle does, and it comes with good iron sights. This year, went on some pretty hard hunting north of Hell's Canyon, some nasty terrain, and I used really good quality scope mounts. It wasn't the fault of the scope mount. I just fell on my gun a couple of times, knocked it around, sliding down logs and stuff, sliding down shale banks. Scope mount came loose. Well, I had backup iron sights, so that's what I'm talking about, the backup iron sights. It comes with that. It also comes with a flash hider, which I don't really care about that on a hunting rifle, right? I'm not trying to evade enemy capture in the jungle shooting at night. Why I like that is because if I smash the muzzle into something, and I dropped a gun last night and it landed on the end of the barrel, right? If I drop a gun, I'm less concerned about it if it has a muzzle brake on it. Even if I don't care about the dampening of recoil, even if I don't care about hiding the flash, I care about not destroying the crown of that rifle if I smash it on a rock or it goes tumbling down a shale bank. And although it's not the lightest weight rifle, it's not as light as a Kimber hunting rifle. I think it is in fact more rugged. It's a controlled round feed, which I like. It's basically that Winchester Pre-64 Model 70 action, which if you can't tell, I'm a big fan of. I've kind of standardized on it. Not that I won't hunt with anything else, but again, there's more to a rifle than accuracy. I like that 3-position safety. I like if the terrain is really rough to be able to lock that action closed, so I don't just have it open on me when I'm got it slung across my back, trying to make my way through a real thick patch of blackberries or a creek bottom choked with willows. And the fact that that is a rugged gun. So if you're planning on rugged hunting, and that's the kind of hunting you do, that'd be my wild card, that Ruger Scout rifle. Now with the iron sights, it's meant to be used with a Scout scope, meaning a forward mounted optic. I'll be honest, I could take that or leave that, but the fact that I have good backup iron sights, it's good to go. I got my deer with it this year. I was very happy with the performance of it. I'll be honest, it wasn't very accurate out of the box. I had to do some TLC to get it to what I would consider acceptably accurate. But after that TLC, after bedding it, free floating it, doing some work with it, doing a trigger job, hogging out the stock, bedding it, if you're willing to do that kind of stuff, it became very accurate. And it became an omnivore. A lot of loads that I had, it just liked and shot well, not just a load. So I'd recommend that for the wild card for a decent hunting rifle. And that's the Ruger Gunsight Scout Rifle. I like the model with the walnut stock. I like wood stocks for a lot of reasons. But they make a laminated stock, which is a little bit heavier, and they make the polymer stock. But it's a good rifle. A good, solid choice for hardcore, like, rugged hunting, scouting, where you're covering lots of miles of unknown terrain in whatever conditions. Raining, snowing, muddy. Anyway, it's a good rifle. I'd recommend it for the wild card. If you're just doing traditional, hunting out of a tree stand, walking less than a mile, getting up there's nothing wrong with that. But you probably aren't going to have any advantage, really, to the Scout rifle. If you're doing some kind of hard backcountry hunting, then you might see some advantages with it. If you're a spot and stalk hunter and you like to get within a couple hundred yards of your quarry. If you're talking about longer shots, you probably would want to gravitate towards one of those Kimber rifles. And the traditional Scout rifle caliber is .308. Alright, with that, let's start wrapping up this episode. Again, if you like this and you're interested in some of the other categories talked about, best whatever in 2024, make sure you're like, subscribe, following the show. If you want to help support the show, please consider becoming a patron. Patrons get all kinds of cool insider-only content. Just did an episode for patrons only today, recorded it on patterning shotguns. They get a lot of content that will never see the light of day here on the podcast. If you don't want to miss out on that, become a patron. Your tactical tip of the day. This might be yeah, of course everybody knows that, but maybe people don't. Some brands like Federal, on their rifle ammo, like a lot of their 308 loads and stuff like that, they come in a box of 20 with 2 plastic sleeves. Those sleeves have slots cut on each side. Those are for a belt, right? And they work fine. So if you're looking for a way to carry extra cartridges, they're made that way. They're molded out of plastic to go on a belt. So you can literally, if you're wearing a belt, which you probably are if you're hunting, or at least I hope you are, you can take 10 rounds of that 308 or 30-06 and slide it on your belt with the container that it comes in. You could also, if you wanted to, put that on a rifle sling. But if you're just looking for a good way to carry extra rounds, why not use the thing that it comes in? You probably know what I'm talking about if you can picture it. Federal, there are other companies that have done it in the past, but I know Federal still does because that's one of my go-to loads. Pull it out of the pack. It comes in 2 clear plastic 10-round sleeves, for lack of a better term, and they have slots cut on each end to go on something like a belt. Your tactical verse of the day. This should just hit you. When I read this, it hits me. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee, when I was made in secret, and curiously wrought in the lower parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect. And in thy book all my members were written, which in countenance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee. Great and marvelous are God's works. Look at the beauty of the earth. Look at the beauty of a mountain sunset, or the ocean, or a monarch butterfly, or an elk bugling on a hillside. The beauty of his works. You are one of those works. You are made in the image of God. It doesn't say that about anything else in creation, but you, man, are made in the image of God. And that we should not forget. That we should remember. And if that doesn't make you fall deeper in love with God, I don't know. Maybe we're just made different. But to know that God not only made me out of his own divine love and nature, but made me in his own image. Fearfully and wonderfully made me. That's a great God. That's an awesome God. That's the God that I serve. That's the God that is, the only God that is. Full of mercy and loving kindness towards all of creation, but more specifically, towards me. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.